What does happiness mean to you? Is there really a universal formula for happiness that fits everyone? That's a question we rarely pause to reflect on, especially in today's fast-paced world. Happiness, as portrayed by the media, social networks, and modern culture, often seems tied to money, status, beauty, or external validation. We're taught to chase the right things: buy a house, get a car, secure a stable job, build a perfect image. But what if all of that is just an illusion? There is a silent deception happening all around us, the greatest deception of modern society. The belief that happiness is a destination, and that everyone must follow the same path to reach it. In this video, we'll begin to peel back the glossy mask that society has placed on the concept of happiness. You'll discover why so many people who seem to have it all still feel deeply unfulfilled. Why social media is filled with smiling faces but empty hearts. And why the more we chase after a packaged version of happiness, the further we drift from our own truth. Most importantly, you'll uncover a truth that could change how you view your entire life. Real happiness doesn't live out there. It isn't a checklist. It has no one-size-fits-all formula. And sometimes it's far simpler than you've been led to believe. Join me until the end of this video as we uncover the truth behind this topic. We're told we deserve to be happy, not as a fleeting possibility, but as an ironclad guarantee, a state that should flow naturally, effortlessly, endlessly. Like the sun rising each dawn, happiness is sold as our birthright, a default condition for simply existing. This promise has woven itself into the fabric of modern life, making the pursuit of happiness the centerpiece of our story. It shapes our choices, our habits, our very identities, as if joy is the ultimate yardstick of a life well lived. From childhood, we're fed a seductive narrative. Joy equals success. If you're not happy, something's broken. Happiness isn't just an emotion anymore, it's a destination, a shimmering trophy we're expected to claim. Falling short isn't a mere stumble, it's failure. Social media, advertisements, self-help gurus, and therapy catchphrases hammer this home with relentless precision. Be positive. Practice gratitude. Choose joy. The message is clear, unyielding, almost tyrannical. Feeling good isn't optional, it's mandatory. But beneath this glossy veneer lurks a quiet, crushing pressure. It weighs on anyone who wakes up feeling low, tired, or lost. In this culture, unhappiness isn't just uncomfortable. It's unacceptable, a personal defect. We're no longer allowed the natural ebb and flow of human emotion. Sadness, anxiety, doubt. They're problems to fix, symptoms to medicate, weaknesses to conquer. This is the dogma of the happiness age. Every moment must be curated for joy. Every discomfort branded as failure. Every pang of emotional pain dismissed as a glitch in the system. But life doesn't bend to these rules. Happiness, like any emotion, is transient. It rises and falls like breath, fleeting and unpredictable. When we're taught it should be permanent, we start fearing its absence. We reject the parts of ourselves that don't fit the script, our grief, our restlessness, our quiet doubts. The irony is brutal. The harder we chase happiness as a duty, the further it slips away. What was meant to feel like freedom becomes a cage, locking us in a performance of forced positivity. For many, this pursuit turns into an exhausting act, a silent war between what we feel and what we're told we should feel. We doubt ourselves not just because we're sad or anxious, but because we believe we shouldn't be. Guilt creeps in for feeling bad, shame for our own minds, embarrassment for the messiness of our inner world. This isn't just emotional fatigue, it's spiritual disarray. When every tear must hide behind a smile, when every fear is coated in gratitude, we lose something vital, our humanity. In this chaos of curated joy, a haunting question emerges, one we try to drown out. If I'm doing everything right, why do I still feel wrong? The world demands we perform happiness, but the more we do, the more disconnected we become from our true emotions. We start curating our lives for the highlight. Real perfect mornings, forced smiles, inspirational quotes, while suppressing the raw, real moments that make us human. The cost is steep. We trade authenticity for an image, depth for a facade. Kierkegaard saw through this illusion. He understood that happiness isn't our natural state, nor a guaranteed prize for living well. It's a fleeting guest, meaningful, only against the backdrop of anxiety, despair, and longing that define the human condition. To live is not to be perpetually happy, but to feel deeply, to grapple with the beauty and brutality of existence. Schopenhauer went further, arguing that suffering isn't a flaw, it's the default. Expecting constant joy is a misunderstanding of life itself. When we treat happiness as an entitlement, every ordinary moment becomes a letdown, every discomfort a problem to erase. This obsession with happiness doesn't liberate us. It enslaves us. It traps us in a cycle of chasing an ideal that's always just out of reach, leaving us restless, hollow, and questioning our worth. But what if the flaw isn't in us? What if the lie is the belief that we must always be happy to be whole? Embracing our full emotional spectrum, light and dark, joy and pain, unlocks something far greater than fleeting happiness, meaning. It's in the shadows, in the moments we're taught to avoid, that we find the truth of who we are. Kierkegaard knew this tension. He saw that happiness is not our natural resting state, not a guaranteed outcome of a good life, but a fleeting visitor that only makes sense in contrast with the anxiety, despair, and longing that shaped the human condition. To be alive is not. To be happy, it is to be aware, to feel deeply, to wrestle with the weight of existing in a world that is both beautiful and brutal. Schopenhauer went further. He argued that life was never meant to make us happy. That suffering isn't a bug. It's the default. To expect life to deliver constant joy is to fundamentally misunderstand what it means to be alive. Because when we turn happiness into an expectation, every ordinary moment becomes a letdown, and every natural discomfort becomes a problem too. Fixed on, we scroll through images of perfect mornings and smiling faces, and somewhere inside, a small voice whispers, "Why not me?" We mistake the curated for the real. We compare our worst days to someone else's highlights and come up short. Again and again, the result isn't joy. It's a haunting sense of inadequacy, not just, "I'm not happy," but "I'm not enough." And so we chase harder. We buy the books. We download the apps. We force the mantras. We push ourselves to be more grateful, more mindful, more optimistic until our inner world becomes a battleground. But what if the problem isn't that we're sad? What if the problem is that we're not allowed to be? This is the deception, the great lie of modern life, that the purpose of living is to be happy, and that if we're not, we're broken. But we're not broken. We're just human. And maybe that's the deeper truth Kierkegaard and Schopenhauer were trying to tell us all along. That real life, the kind that moves us, shapes us, wakes us up, isn't found in constant happiness, but in the full spectrum of feeling, even the dark ones, especially the dark ones. Because it's there, in the shadow, that we begin to find something far more real than happiness. We find meaning, and as we search for answers, we are handed solutions, not from philosophers, but from marketers. Because in today's world, happiness isn't just a feeling. It's a product, a billion-dollar industry dressed in pastel colors and soothing voices. We're told that inner peace is only one app away, that clarity comes with a subscription, that fulfillment can be unlocked through a 5-step morning routine or a new journal with gold-foiled pages. We're offered meditation tools, digital, detox retreats, gratitude challenges, dopamine hacks, each one packaged as the missing piece to a puzzle that never seems to be complete. And it's not just the products. It's the people selling them. Influencers with perfect skin and constant smiles, whispering gentle affirmations while sipping matcha under soft lighting. The message is clear. This is what happiness looks like. This is how success feels. This is who you should be. But what happens when you look in the mirror and don't see that person? What happens when you wake up tired, anxious, unmotivated, and the world tells you, just think positive? You start to wonder if something's wrong with you, because no one posts the crying at midnight. No one live streams their breakdown in the parking lot. No one shares the weight of quiet dread in the morning. And so we compare our real, messy, unfiltered lives to a highlight reel. And then we wonder why we feel like we're falling behind. This is not motivation. It's manipulation. Because once you believe that happiness is something you should have but somehow don't, you become the perfect customer, always almost there, always one purchase away, always one breakthrough short. And in that gap between what you are and what you're told you should be, a market is born not for healing, but for hope. Not for freedom, but for the illusion of control. This is not self-help. It's self-surveillance. And the cost is not just financial. It's emotional. It's existential. Because slowly, quietly, we begin to measure our worth by how well we perform the role of the happy person and forget how to simply be a human one. Over time, the message becomes internalized. If you're not happy, the problem isn't the world, it's you. You didn't visualize hard enough. You didn't meditate long enough. You weren't grateful enough. You didn't buy the right course, read the right book, follow the right coach, or fix your mindset fast enough. And so, unhappiness slowly shifts from being a human experience to a personal failure, a sign that you're broken, that you missed something, that you need to be fixed. And what's the solution? Do more, buy more, change more. Upgrade your morning routine, rewire your thoughts, optimize your lifestyle. Because clearly, who you are right now isn't enough. This is the trap, the loop with no exit, the treadmill. That speeds up the faster you run. Because every fix promises relief, but delivers another standard to reach, another version of yourself to chase, another reason to feel like you're still not quite there. And when the promise doesn't hold, when the positive thinking fails, when the high wears off, you're left with the same emptiness, only now with a fresh layer of shame. Because now you believe it's your fault, that your suffering is a sign of your own inadequacy, that if you were just better, you'd feel better. So you begin. You download the next app. You join the next course. You follow the next voice, telling you to breathe, to smile, to stay positive, while quietly, your inner world aches beneath the surface. You start hiding your sadness, filtering your grief, tucking your discomfort behind curated quotes and bright emojis until, eventually, you forget what you really feel at all. You don't live your emotions, you manage them, you curate them. You censor them for the sake of keeping up the image of someone who's got it all together. And that's where the damage deepens. Because when your life becomes a constant performance of happiness, you lose connection with the parts of yourself that don't fit the role. The anxious parts, the angry parts, the restless, grieving, questioning parts, the parts that are human and real and raw, the very parts that carry the seeds of growth, of truth, of meaning. Kierkegaard called this despair, not just sadness, not just suffering, but the condition of being out of alignment with your true self. Despair, he wrote, is the sickness of a soul that lives for something other than its own essence. It's not knowing who you are, or worse, knowing exactly who you are, but being too afraid to live it. It's smiling when you want to scream. It's chasing an idea of joy that was never yours to begin with. And the deeper you go into this performance, the further you drift from the center of your own life, until one day You wake up surrounded by all the things that were supposed to make you whole and feel more lost than ever. Because the greatest deception isn't that happiness is impossible. It's that it must come at the cost of your authenticity. And once you trade your truth for someone else's version of joy, no amount of positive vibes will ever be enough. When sadness is treated like a flaw, we lose the ability to simply be with what is. We no longer see sorrow as part of the human experience, but as a mistake to be corrected quickly, quietly, and preferably without leaving a mark. Instead of listening to what our pain might be trying to tell us, we silence it. We distract. We scroll. We keep moving. We pretend we're okay, even when every part of us is calling for rest, for reflection, for truth. Over time, this avoidance becomes habit. And that habit becomes disconnection, not just from our emotions, but from ourselves. The more we resist sadness, the more foreign it begins to feel. And when it does visit, as it inevitably will, we panic. We see it not as a messenger, but as a threat. We reach for solutions, for fixes, for the nearest distraction, because sitting in sadness feels like weakness. It feels like failure. But sadness has always been a kind of teacher. It slows us down for a reason. It asks us to stop pretending. It pulls us inward towards something quieter, deeper, more honest. And when we refuse to allow it, when we treat it as something shameful, we lose the very ability to stay present with what is real. We become strangers to our own inner world. This is the cost of living in a culture obsessed with happiness. The constant pursuit of joy leaves us restless, exhausted, hollowed out. When every moment must be light and uplifting, we begin to live on the surface of things. We chase good vibes, perfect routines, and positive energy while quietly fearing anything that feels heavy, unclear, or uncomfortable. But this performance takes its toll, because beneath the curated smiles and motivational mantras, a quiet fatigue starts to build a tension, a sense that no matter how much we do, we're always one step away from enough. In trying to stay up, we forget how to go deep. In trying to be okay all the time, we lose the capacity to be fully alive. Joy without contrast becomes noise. Life without emotional depth becomes repetition. And the self that is never allowed to feel pain becomes a self that slowly disappears. Moments of loneliness, anxiety, or inner crisis, once seen as gateways to depth, are now treated like malfunctions. Instead of asking what they might be revealing, we rush to shut them down. We meditate, manifest, repeat affirmations, not always as a path to presence, but as a means of escape. Emotional pain is no longer something to explore. It's something to fix, a glitch in the system, a stain on the image. We've turned every difficult emotion into a public relations problem, something to manage, reframe, spin. And in doing so, we miss the invitation. Because these moments, the quiet ache, the sleepless doubt, the collapse we didn't plan, carry more than just suffering. They carry depth. They hold questions we've spent years avoiding. They open doors we wouldn't have walked through on our own. But if all we're trained to do is chase the light, we'll never learn how to navigate the dark. We'll never discover that our discomfort isn't the enemy. It's a signal, a mirror, a message that something in us is asking to be seen. Schopenhauer understood this long before the age of dopamine hacks and lifestyle branding. He saw clearly that happiness is not something we can hunt, purchase, or manufacture. The more we chase it, the more it recedes. The more we demand it, the more fragile it becomes. In his eyes, happiness wasn't a prize at the end of effort, but the quiet byproduct of something else entirely: acceptance, the simple, often uncomfortable act of seeing life as it is, without filters, without resistance, without expectation. To live well, Schopenhauer argued, is not to feel good all the time, but to stop insisting that life must always feel good. Pain is not proof that we failed. Sadness is not a detour. Anxiety is not a defect. These are not signs that something is wrong with us. They're signs that we are alive fully humanly. And when we stop pathologizing the harder parts of life, something remarkable happens. We soften. We slow down. We begin to make peace with the full spectrum of what it means to be. In that space, happiness loses its grip on us. Not because we've given up, but because we've stopped demanding that life be anything other than what it is. And ironically, it's there, in that surrender, that something deeper, steadier, and far more honest begins to emerge. Somewhere along the way, we began to believe that happiness meant feeling good all the time. That joy was the ultimate sign. We were doing life right. But the truth is far more complex and far more human. Real happiness does not come from a non-stop stream of pleasure or positivity. It comes from presence, from showing up fully, even when what we're feeling isn't light or easy. It comes from allowing sadness to exist without rushing to change it, from being with our discomfort instead of turning away from it, from learning that what's real is more valuable than what's comfortable. This is the paradox we were never taught. The more we try to chase happiness, the more anxious and unfulfilled we become. But the moment we stop chasing and start simply being, something shifts. The pressure lifts, the mask loosens, and we begin to experience a quiet kind of peace that isn't about highs, but about depth. It's not the loud, triumphant joy we've been sold in commercials or TED Talks. It's something softer, quieter, more rooted in calm that doesn't depend on everything going our way, but on our willingness to stay with what is. When we stop asking, "Why am I not happy yet?" and instead ask, "Can I be present with this moment as it is?" we reclaim something essential. We stop fighting our inner world. We stop labeling emotions as good or bad. And we begin to meet ourselves fully, honestly, for perhaps the first time. This is not the kind of peace that comes from avoiding pain. It's the kind that arises when we move through it, when we stop running from our darkness and begin to listen to what it's asking us to see. Kierkegaard called this path one of despair, not as something to escape, but something to move through. For him, despair wasn't just sadness. It was the state of being disconnected from one's true self, the crisis that arises when we build a life around who we think we should be rather than who we truly are. And the only way out, he believed, was in through the fear, through the doubt, through the death of old illusions. It's not a comfortable journey. It's not marketable. It can't be packaged into a morning routine or sold as an online course. But it is the only path to real freedom. Because when we allow despair to do its work, to strip away the false layers, to burn down the scripts that no longer serve us, we are left with something raw and real, a self that no longer performs, a self that no longer hides. And from this place, a new kind of life begins to take shape, one not built on the constant pursuit of feeling good, but on the deeper rhythm of truth. A life where joy is not demanded, but discovered, not forced, but felt gently, unexpectedly, in moments that were never part of the plan. This joy isn't flashy. It doesn't always look like happiness from the outside. It doesn't need to, because it's not a show. It's an inner state, a groundedness, a quiet alignment between who we are and how we live. It can live side by side with sadness. It can hold grief and gratitude in the same breath. It's not about erasing pain. It's about holding it with tenderness, without letting it define us. What if the ultimate liberation isn't chasing a fleeting feeling, but embracing life exactly as it is? Imagine no longer performing joy to meet the world's demands, but living your truth raw, unfiltered, real. Stop begging the world to hand you happiness and start meeting each moment with presence, whether it's light or heavy. This is where freedom begins, not in forcing a smile, but in daring to feel everything. Life isn't an endless stream of joy. It's not always bright or easy. Some days are quiet, others crushing, and sometimes life cracks us open to reveal something deeper. The lie we've been sold is that happiness is the goal, that pain is a failure. But what if those hard moments, grief, doubt, ache, are not obstacles, but invitations? Invitations to grow, to question, to become more fully yourself. When we stop resisting these moments and start showing up for them, we uncover a truth. The peace we've chased was never out there. It's been within us, waiting for us to stop running. This peace isn't for sale. No app, no vision board, no mantra can manufacture it. It's born from being alive, messy, uncertain, human. It's found in honoring every shade of your experience, from joy to sorrow, without judgment. Daring to live without a mask means embracing the parts of you society calls flawed, the anxious thoughts, the quiet doubts, the restless nights. These aren't weaknesses. They're the threads of your humanity in the stillness of your truth. You'll find something stronger than happiness, wholeness. It's not loud or flashy. It's a quiet alignment between who you are and how you live. It's the courage to feel deeply, to stop curating your life for approval, and to claim a peace that holds both light and dark. So, stop chasing. Start being. The world may demand happiness, but your soul craves truth. Will you answer its call? What did you think about today's video? Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If this video opened your mind or helped you see reality in a new light, don't forget to like and subscribe. To top hidden knowledge so you never miss our next deep dive into mystery, perception, and the hidden workings of our universe. And if you have time, explore more videos on our channel. We're just getting started. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and never stop questioning the world around you.